There are times in life when something strange starts to happen inside you, but so quietly that it almost goes unnoticed. At first, it seems just responsibility, focus, discipline. You believe you're doing everything right. You wake up early, try to enjoy every minute, organize your routine as if it were a machine programmed to never fail. The people around him even praise his determination. But while everyone applauds, something inside you begins to fade. A part of your soul slowly diminishes, like a light that flickers before it goes out for good. And this is where the mystery that almost no one notices begins. Without noticing, you stop living and start managing yourself, as if you were a company on the verge of collapse. You start to charge yourself for imaginary results, for goals you don't even know where they came from, for expectations you never chose. And the scariest thing? You believe that this is freedom. But what if it isn't? What if this feeling of always being indebted to yourself is a sign that something inside you is crying out for help? What if your soul is trying to warn you of danger before you collapse for good? The philosopher Byung-Chul Han, yes, the one who perfectly described modern society, said something that gives us goosebumps when we truly understand. We don't need tyrants anymore, because each person has become his or her own oppressor. It's no longer the boss who puts pressure on you. It's you. You force yourself to be productive at all times, punish yourself when you fail, accuse yourself when you rest. You turn even your joys into tasks, even your silences into metrics, even your identity into a resource that needs to generate some kind of value. And while you do this, without realizing it, you empty yourself inside. This is the point that almost no one admits. You have unlearned how to do something just because you like it. You have lost the ability to live without turning life into a project. Have you noticed? You can't pick up an instrument without thinking about recording. He cannot draw without feeling that he is wasting time. He cannot rest without feeling guilty. Your entire existence has become a race that no one has asked you to run, but that you insist on continuing. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the void grows bigger and bigger. Now I ask you a question that can shake everything you believe about yourself. When was the last time you did something completely useless? Something that didn't bring you money, or praise, or results, or followers, or growth. Something that simply gave you back the feeling of being human? If your answer is, I don't remember, then this text is not only interesting to you, it is urgent. Because in a world that demands performance all the time, choosing something useless, something that exists only for the pleasure of existing, may be the only gesture that can keep your soul from falling apart. And if you stay with me until the end, you will understand why this simple change can be one of the most valuable decisions of your life. But first, I need to tell you this. You weren't born believing that every second needs to serve some purpose. This belief was placed in you drop by drop until it became internal law. As a child, you drew because colors fascinated you, not because you wanted to evolve. You joked because playing is what life does when it hasn't been domesticated yet. He explored because existing was enough. Gradually, the adult world extinguished this flame. And today, without realizing it, you live imprisoned by a logic that transforms every thought into an investment, every emotion into failure, every minute into capital. And that's exactly why you're tired, even when it seems like you haven't done anything too much. If this is making sense to you, then take advantage of this moment to subscribe to the channel. Here, we reconstruct together what the modern world tries to erase: the ability to feel, to exist, to breathe without guilt. Your presence here makes a difference, and it can be the beginning of your inner turn. If there is something silent that destroys the modern soul, it is not the excess of tasks, it is the excess of expectations. You don't notice when it starts. He believes that motivation is always a good thing, that discipline is always a virtue, that overcoming is always a solution. But what happens when that logic never ends? When does the idea of improving yourself cease to be a choice and become an obligation? At some point, the phrase "you can do anything" turns into a hidden threat. If you can't, it's your fault. Byung-Chul Han describes this trap with almost frightening accuracy. He explains that we live in a society that does not break people by excessive prohibition, but by excessive stimulation. It is no longer the you can't that controls. It is the you must always improve, you must always overcome, you must always produce. This excess of positivity turns into a sweet poison, an invisible pressure that corrodes from within. And so you come to believe in something devastating. If I'm not always performing, then I'm not enough. This belief seeps into every corner of your life. That's why resting feels wrong. That lying in bed without producing seems lazy. That walking without recording steps seems useless. That opening a book without practical purposes seems irresponsible. You've been trained and deeply conditioned to view every moment that doesn't yield results as a moral failure. And when that happens, the collapse doesn't appear as a drama. It appears as silence. You start to feel that something inside you is collapsing, but you can't pinpoint where. And since no one talks about it, you think it's your problem alone. You say to yourself, I'm tired. But deep down, it means something much bigger. I'm failing. Something in me doesn't work anymore. The cruelest thing about this society is that it destroys precisely the most invisible part of the human being, the ability to contemplate. When you lose contemplation, you also lose depth. When you lose depth, you lose connection with your own inner world. And when the inner world disappears, everything in life starts to seem superficial, accelerated, empty. The hard truth, which almost no one wants to hear, is that you are being pushed into a mode of existence where everything must be used, where every minute should be enjoyed, where each gesture needs to generate something. And when life becomes a big checklist, you stop inhabiting the moments and just consume them. Have you noticed that? Have you ever felt like you live running without ever getting anywhere? That each day feels the same as the last, even when you do 1,000 different things? That your head is full, but your heart is empty? This is not weakness. It is not a defect. It is a direct consequence of living under a system that turns human beings into performance machines. And the scariest thing, you start to think it's normal. Information replaces wisdom. Movement replaces silence. Stimulus replaces meaning. Life ceases to be lived and starts to be managed. There is no more time to feel, to think, to exist. There's only time to do it. And in this frenetic rhythm, his soul becomes noisy, fragmented, restless. The performance society creates a new kind of suffering, not visible suffering, but the silent disappearance of your inner world. You don't lose energy because you work too hard. You lose energy because you haven't learned how to rest within yourself. Instead of diving into your own emotions, you just accumulate. Instead of turning pains into understanding, you simply move forward without integrating them. Everything becomes excess, nothing becomes depth. That's why so many people, even with full lives, feel empty. It's not a lack of experiences. It's a lack of internal space where these experiences can create meaning. You have become visible to the world, but invisible to yourself. He conquered more tasks, more goals, more responsibilities, but he lost the ability to inhabit his own being. And this is exactly where the urgent need for something seemingly simple arises: to do something useless. Not useful, not productive, not monetizable. Something that serves no purpose other than to give back what you have lost: your own humanity. When you indulge in a purposeless, aimless, goalless practice, you reopen the secret door to your inner world, that door that society has tried to lock. And maybe that's why you're here now. Because some part of you, silent and persistent, knows that it needs to come home, to within itself. If this text is touching something inside you, use this moment to subscribe to the channel. Not out of obligation, but because here you find exactly the space that the modern world tries to destroy. Space to breathe, feel, and recover your soul before it disappears. There is a type of suffering that does not manifest itself as pain, nor as sadness, nor as an emotional explosion. It appears in a much more subtle and dangerous way, as disappearance. Not the disappearance of objects, opportunities, or people, but the disappearance of your own inner world. It is as if, little by little, without you noticing, what makes you begins to dissolve. Byung-Chul Han describes this phenomenon as the erosion of contemplation. And perhaps this is one of the greatest dangers of the modern world. Contemplation is not rest. It is not deep thought. It is not meditation in the commercial sense of the word. Contemplation is the ability to exist without justification. It is the inner space where the soul breathes. And when that space disappears, you don't just lose rest. You lose depth, you lose presence, you lose meaning. In the fast-paced world, everything that is slow is seen as failure. Everything that is silent is seen as laziness. Everything that is stable is seen as backwardness. Life turns into a race where every minute needs to be used, optimized, calculated. And when you enter this mode of existence, something very serious happens. You stop living and just start reacting. Notice if this has happened to you. The days start to look the same. The weeks go by too quickly. Emotions are scrambled, heavy, accumulated. You don't know exactly what you're feeling. You just know that there's something strange, like a constant noise inside your mind that never silences. And the more you try to ignore it, the more it grows. This is no coincidence. Without contemplation, the soul loses its territory. You wake up, work, do tasks, get distracted by screens, fill every gap with stimuli. But you never find a moment where you really come back to yourself. And when there is no internal return, you become shallow, anxious, fragmented. That's why even activities that are supposed to bring pleasure start to feel empty. You watch movies, but nothing touches the bottom. You travel, but everything goes by too fast. You talk, but nothing really reaches you. Life becomes the surface. You can't dive anymore. And here's the most tragic point. This seems normal. The people around you live the same way, so you believe that's the way it is. But deep down, something inside you knows it shouldn't be this way. Because there's a part of your soul that remembers, however faintly, what it was like to live deeply. What it was like to exist without haste. What it was like to feel without fear of wasting time. And it's this memory, fragile, almost erased, but still alive, that can save you. The world wants to turn everything into a tool, even its essence, even what should be sacred. But there is a small silent rebellion capable of returning the air to your interior, doing something that serves no purpose. Yes, exactly, that sounds absurd. Something without a goal, without metrics, without usefulness. Something that the market cannot buy, that productivity cannot measure, that the algorithm cannot transform into content. When you do something useless, you regain something you had lost, the ability to be with yourself without feeling guilty. And this, although simple, is profoundly revolutionary. Because when you recover this inner space, you also recover your emotions, your thoughts, your curiosity, your dormant dreams. You go back to being a person, not a machine. But beware, at first, this process will be uncomfortable. The whole society has trained you to believe that only what generates something has value. So when you sit down to draw aimlessly, you're going to feel guilty. When you try to play an instrument without recording, you're going to feel silly. When you try to walk without measuring steps, you will feel like you are wasting time. And that's when you need to remember, this discomfort is not a sign of error. It is a sign of detoxification. It's your brain trying to break free from the logic of performance that has imprisoned you for so many years. And the more you insist, lightly but persistently, the more your soul will remember something old, the feeling of existing without being watched from within. If you stand firm, something extraordinary begins to happen. Her emotions, which once seemed confused, begin to clear. Your anxiety decreases. Your mind, once noisy, begins to create space. It's as if you finally opened windows in a house that had been closed, stuffy, dark for years. And why does this happen? Because there is only real transformation when there is contemplation. And there is contemplation only when you create useless moments, moments that serve no purpose, but that save you from everything. If this is stirring you, if you feel that this is exactly what your soul has been trying to tell you for so long, take advantage of this moment and subscribe to the channel. Here, you find a space that the modern world tries to erase, the space where your humanity breathes again. Before you can reclaim a useless hobby, you need to face a truth that almost no one admits. You've been trained, over many years, to distrust your own impulses. Everything that does not generate results has been silently labeled as a waste of time. Everything that does not contribute to their productivity was treated as childish. And everything that arouses simple pleasure has been placed in the category of irresponsibility. So when I say that a useless hobby can save your life, I'm not giving you light advice. I am asking you to dismantle an entire psychological structure built within you. A structure that has shaped his behavior, his routine, and even his identity. Breaking with this is not simple, but it is necessary. Perhaps it is the only way to recover what the modern world has tried to take away from you, your essence. The first question you need to answer is uncomfortable but revealing. What did you love before the world convinced you that love needs to be useful? If you look sincerely, you will realize that the things that brought you true joy were precisely those without a practical function. As a child, you created aimless imaginary worlds. He built objects that were useless. He played instruments clumsily, drew meaningless figures, collected worthless things. All this because there was pleasure in simply existing at that moment. That version of you didn't die. It is just buried, covered by expectations, pressures, and the belief that every minute needs to pay for itself somehow. Your first task, therefore, is one of digging, finding a piece of you that still knows how to play with life. Choose something, anything, but choose what seems useless. Don't choose what you do well. Don't choose something that can become content or a project or a skill or a source of income. Choose what seems silly, small, simple, almost ridiculous. Choose what would make your adult self frown, because that's where your soul is hidden. It can be drawing doodles. It can be assembling building blocks without aim. It can be walking without a destination. It can be playing an instrument very badly. It could be planting something with no intention of harvesting. It can be putting together cheap puzzles. It could be bird watching. It can be coloring children's books. It can be absolutely anything that has no practical purpose. And when you choose, do something important. Declare that it is sacred. Yes, sacred. Because a useless hobby doesn't survive if you treat it like another chore. It needs to be protected as a small temple, a place where the outside world does not enter, where the logic of productivity is not allowed to tread. Say to yourself, if necessary out loud, this will never be monetized. This will never be optimized. This will never be transformed into performance. That's mine alone. From that moment on, something already begins to change within you. But get ready, the guilt will come. A strange, nagging guilt that seems to whisper that you're doing something wrong. And you'll ask yourself, why am I feeling this way for doing something so simple? The answer is harsh but liberating. Because you are violating an invisible algorithm that has been installed inside your mind. An algorithm that says that every pleasure needs to be useful. Every joy needs to be productive. Every time needs to generate a return. This discomfort is not a sign to stop. This discomfort is the exact sign that you are on the right track. Over time, you'll notice another phenomenon. Your mind will try to pull you back into the realm of productivity. He will ask how to improve, how to measure, how to use that later. She will try to turn even her useless hobby into a performance instrument. When this happens, and it will happen many times, you need to resist. Go back to the body, to the simple gesture, to the present moment. Feel the pencil on the paper. Feel the out-of-tune sound of the instrument. Feel the texture of the plant, the weight of the puzzle, the aimless walking. Allow the experience to be shallow for the ego, but deep for the soul. Many people, when they try to reclaim a useless hobby, do not understand that they are accomplishing something much bigger. They are rebuilding their own interior space. You are creating again the secret room of the soul, that silent place where emotions settle, thoughts are organized, and life gains meaning. For this process to be truly transformative, an essential element that has been lost in modern life is necessary: ritual. Without ritual, everything becomes a race. With ritual, the soul understands that it is entering another territory. It can be something simple. Light a candle, prepare a tea, take a deep breath for a few seconds, close your eyes before starting. Small gestures tell the unconscious that you are changing your state. As the weeks go by, something begins to bloom. You notice that your thoughts become less aggressive. Your emotions become clearer. Your body becomes less tense. The moments stop collapsing and expand again. Life ceases to be a blur and has texture again. This does not happen all at once. It happens like sunrise, slowly, quietly, until suddenly you realize that the room is lit up. And when that light arrives, it illuminates something you had forgotten. The simple fact that there is a life within you, a life that does not need to be measured, evaluated, or enjoyed in order to exist with dignity. If this text is awakening something within you, allow yourself to go deeper. And if you want to continue this journey with me, remember to subscribe to the channel. Here, you find a refuge from what the modern world tries to stifle: your soul, your contemplation, your humanity. Something extraordinary happens when you allow the mind to do something without purpose. At first, it's barely noticeable, as if a forgotten muscle is starting to wake up after many years of silence. But over time, this simple gesture creates profound transformations, both psychological and emotional. A slow, discrete change, but impossible to ignore. Byung-Chul Han explains that the great collapse of the modern mind comes not from weakness, but from overexposure. We are bombarded by stimuli, expectations, comparisons, and pressures from all sides. We live in a state of permanent alert, as if every minute was decisive, as if every second defined how much we are worth. The mind is pushed forward, and forward, never allowed to stop and breathe. And what happens when something never rests? It doesn't break all at once. It wears out until it loses its luster. This is exactly what happens to your soul when all your time is functional, when everything needs to be enjoyed, when each activity needs to generate something, when each breath must be justified. You no longer have time for integration, only for accumulation. You absorb information, stimuli, emotions, but nothing is organized. Nothing settles. Nothing finds its place. And it is precisely here that the useless hobby becomes a bomb. It creates what modern society tries to eliminate: time without purpose. Time that does not point to any goal. Time that does not yield. Time that exists only because life is also made of breaths. And when you create that kind of time, something in your system starts to reorganize. The first impact is physiological. Without pressure, the body leaves threat mode. Hormones change. The mind slows down. Internal regions responsible for imagination, introspection, and creativity are once again accessible. It's like opening windows in a stuffy room. How to allow fresh air to enter for the first time in years. Then comes the psychological impact. When you don't need to measure yourself or judge yourself or improve yourself, the mind takes an immense weight off your back. Anxiety becomes less sharp. Thoughts stop running. The internal tension dissolves little by little. And for the first time in a long time, you can feel something that seemed impossible: true calm. This calm is not without problems. It's your presence. It is the feeling of being whole in the moment, without pressure, without expectations, without obligation to be a better version. It's the encounter with an identity that existed before the world taught you how to perform. A simpler, deeper, more honest identity. And when you find that part of yourself again, something even deeper happens. Goals are no longer prisons. You understand that you may want to grow, but that you don't have to justify your existence with it. You realize that dreams are choices, not duties. That productivity can be a tool, not identity. That rest is not a failure. It is a natural part of life. The most curious thing is that when you make peace with this interior space, even your productivity changes. It becomes lighter, more creative, less aggressive. You work with presence, not with desperation. He acts out of intention, not out of obligation. The paradox is real. By embracing the useless, you become more human, and therefore, more capable of living with strength and clarity. And then comes the greatest gift of all, the return of genuine joy. Not the artificial joy of quick dopamine, but the gentle joy of inhabiting a moment. The joy of existing without having to prove anything. The joy of being you, whole, imperfect, alive. This kind of joy only appears when the soul has room to breathe. And this space only exists when you allow a few moments of your life to be useless. Because what is good for nothing, paradoxically, is what is good for everything. It serves to restore you. There comes a time on this journey when you look inside and realize something you may not have felt in years. Dignity. The dignity of existing without asking permission from the world. The dignity of having a time that is yours. The dignity of not being reduced to metrics, results, goals, or productivity. The dignity of remembering that long before you are a cog, you are a human being. And that's why the useless hobby is not a waste of time. It is a silent revolution. It is healing. It's rescue. It is the reappropriation of one's own life. When you sit down to do something aimless, you're telling the world and yourself something profoundly liberating. My humanity is non-negotiable. It is a small act, but it is an act of sovereignty. It is you saying that it will not be just an instrument of the market, nor an infinite project of improvement, nor a brand to be managed. It's you saying that inner life matters, and that it deserves to come back. And if you've made it this far, you may already be feeling it. Maybe a part of you has awakened. Perhaps you are realizing that there is still something inside your soul that the world has not been able to break. And that, Eduardo, is precious. If this message really touched you, if it made something inside you breathe, remember, wake up. Then I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we reconstruct together what modern society tries to erase: depth, presence, contemplation, and the return to true humanity. Because when you manage to recover your inner life, even a little, you are already free.